18K is...
Ooh, that's completely wrong. That K means...
Does this mean that the higher the K, the harder the paddle racket will be?
No.
The higher the K, the higher nothing.
Can you give an easy answer on which is the most powerful model in the frame?
Probably the...
You don't know the properties of that paddle racket. Which Bullpadel is more powerful? The answer is... Hi paddle drivers, how you doing? Today we're gonna get serious. We're gonna be talking about one of the biggest mysteries in paddle rackets. I see that everybody is completely lost on this topic, and honestly I think it's completely normal because I've seen so much false information out there. Today we will be talking about the different carbon fibers used in the face of the paddle racket, and we will be explaining how this affects your game. We will also be denying some of the false information we've watched in the YouTube videos out there, and we will have our expert in composite materials, Carlos, explaining us how all these parameters affects the performance of your paddle racket. So, Carlos, a pleasure to have you here.
Thank you very much, my friend. It's a pleasure to be with you today and with all of you paddle drivers.
Carlos is my colleague in Rolls-Royce. Many of you don't know this, but I'm actually an aerospace engineer, and yes, I work in Rolls-Royce. But I wanted to bring Carlos because he's really the expert in composite materials and, well, a really good paddle player as well.
I'm not sure about that, but yeah, I'm Carlos. Nice to meet you all. I'm aerospace engineer, working in the aerospace sector almost 8 years. So yeah, so I know very well the carbon fiber and all the methods, materials, and the processes used in the aerospace industry.
Could we say as well that the properties that we use or we see in the carbon fibers used in aerospace sector, they are similar to the ones that we see in sports, like in this case paddle?
I would say yes, are quite similar. The material used, the fiber used are partially the same. Obviously there are present some differences between them, but the materials, the methods, the processes are all the same to build a composite or a composite product.
So Carlos, before we jump into the deep conversation, I want to show you something. Take a look at this.
Right.
The fascia is the main difference, what it's made of. This is 12K, this is 18K. That means nothing to Joe Bloggs, right? What it actually means is 18K is an 18mm distance between the weave of the carbon.
Okay.
Right, versus 12K, so 12mm.
Okay.
The narrower it is, the denser it is. Obviously, the wider, the more flexible it is.
Yeah.
Right? So the hack is technically more flexible than the vertex.
Right, okay.
And then you would go to a neuron, which would be 3K.
Do you agree with that?
Definitely I don't, but I wanted to know your opinion. 12K, does it mean 12 millimeters between the width of the carbon?
No, that's completely wrong.
By the way, paddle drivers, this video is from U1, from Everything Paddle. If you don't follow him, we really recommend that you do, because he's uploading amazing paddle content and he's indeed one of our favorite paddle YouTubers. This being said, we don't have anything against him. Of course, he's our friend. We just want to talk about this question from his video on carbon fiber. So what's really the 12K? What does it mean, that K?
So that K means thousands of filaments per bundle, per weave. So 3K means 3,000 filaments per weave. 12, 12,000, 18, 24, 24,000.
So it doesn't have to do at all with millimeters, right?
No, it doesn't really mean anything with millimeters.
So actually, the funny part is that if you measure the millimeters of the width of the vertex, is 8 millimeters, at least this one. But as we said, it doesn't have to do with the millimeters. In fact, if you see, for example, the hook solid, which is also 12K, you can definitely tell that these squares are bigger, okay? So, again, 12K doesn't have to do with millimeters. You can see that different brands have different sizes of 12K carbon, and the only thing that it means is, as Carlos said, 12,000
Filaments?
per weave.
That's correct.
Does this mean that the higher the K, the harder the paddle racket will be?
No, that's only a small part of the equation.
As far as I understand, there are several factors that contribute to the overall stiffness of the racket. So we would be wrong to say that the higher the K, the harder the racket is going to be, or the harder, the more flexible. Because we need to understand what happens with these other variables that they do play a role in the overall stiffness of the racket. So Carlos, for example, which variables contribute here?
So for example, the density of the different materials. So the density of the carbon fiber, the density of the resin used in the manufacturing processes. So that's one of them. Another one is the number of layers. So how many layers of carbon fiber, how many layers of glass fiber on top of each other. And also, and I think one important one is the weave pattern. So how the layers of composite material, of carbon fiber, interact between them when they've been manufactured.
Exactly. As Carlos said, it's really important to understand, for example, that it's not just a layer of carbon fiber on top of the rubber, okay? The paddle rackets, they do have more than one layer, and the 18K or 12K that you see is just the outer one, okay?
Exactly.
Below that one, you may have 3K or fiberglass, right? Because
Fiberglass.
if we would put only carbon fiber layers,
That's too hard.
and it would break, right?
It will break. Yeah.
So probably we need to put, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 different layers combined, and that's together with the rubber that goes inside what is gonna give us the overall stiffness of the racket, not just the K. So whenever you see the 18K or the 12K, that's just the carbon type of the layer on top, on the outer surface, right?
On the external surface, that's correct.
So you need to understand that we don't know how hard the other layers are, and what is truly going to give the overall hardness or stiffness of the racket is the combination of all these layers combined with the rubber.
That's a composite material. It's a combination of all these layers together.
You might have a really stiff carbon here and then 2 fiberglass layers, and on this one you might have 12K, 3K and fiberglass, because this is also really important, right, Carlos? All the paddle rackets, they do contain layers of fiberglass.
That's correct, Gonzalo. And I will say that it's a combination of all of them what present the final stiffness of the racket.
So again, the higher the K, the higher nothing. You don't know the properties of that paddle racket. It's the whole combination of them. And now we're gonna see an example of how this can be misunderstood in this video of E1, talking about the vertex and the hack. Let's watch the video, Carlos.
Can you give an easy answer on which is the most powerful model in the frame, or are you saying it depends on the player?
A little bit depends on the player, but if I was to say the same player, which one are you going to get more from? I would say that probably the vertex, because of the slightly more dense carbon.
So, for example, in this video, we can see that they're saying that the vertex is more powerful than the hack. I haven't tried the hack of 2025, but historically, the hack has always been a more powerful racket and a stiffer racket. The hack, it is 18K, and regardless if it is more flexible or less flexible, it is a 3 carbon, as the Bullpadel designer explains in this video that I will leave in the description with Manu Martin. The 3 carbon means that the weave pattern that Carlos was mentioning before is in 3D. On the vertex is in 2D. So again, the K on its own is not telling you if it's harder or softer or more flexible. It's the combination of all the layers where it is really telling you the hardness of the racket. So giving an answer to which Bullpadel is more powerful, the answer is the hack, said by the Bullpadel designer. So remember to like this video if you like this type of content, and the best advice that I can give you on paddle rackets is try it, have it on your hands. That's truly what is going to give you the feeling that you're looking for. Don't read the K, okay, because it's not telling you how hard or how soft that paddle racket is. Have it on your hand. That's the best advice that we can give you. Carlos, again, thank you for coming to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one. Vamos!
Vamos!